financial investment activities. So otherwise they will get covered in the NBFC now. So under the Act itself, they have prohibited. So if there is a proprietor who has been doing share trading financing, he wants to convert in OPC, that is not an option. Also charitable activities, unless they are converted into Section 8 company, that cannot be done by OPC. So two limitations for OPC, otherwise it's an open ocean for OPCs to do the business. So it's a mandatory for the companies to give a nominee when it forms a company. So at the very formation stage itself, the nomination has to be filed with the ROC in form INC2, and the declarations from the nominee need to be obtained and filed with the ROC. For any reason I want to change the nominee, companies are free to change that. So who can become member? As I said, only individual can become member. Following can neither be member or even the nominees or even hold shares. So minor cannot be made a nominee. It has to be major. Polycorporate company, since they can't form, they can't become nominee in any case. Number of directors in a OPC can be minimum 1, and then you can have maximum up to 50. But that's an unrealistic situation. It's a proprietorship, normally you don't have that kind of directorship. Because you are the sole running manager of the business. OPCs are given relaxations. So if you become OPC, you will be as such a company, and then all the other provisions what I discussed earlier would ordinarily apply. But the law has kept that in mind and has given several relaxations. Requirement of during board meeting, if OPC has only one director, will not be applicable at all. Quorum interested directors, it test fails altogether. No need to hold AGM. Requirement of calling of notice of EGM, proxy, etc. does not apply. Where the OPC has only one director, and if any resolution has to be given by to the third party, then the date on which the resolution is signed by the director will be considered as the date of board meeting for third person to know that. Financial statement will be signed only by one person, the one director. They have to be filed with ROC within 180 days from the end of financial year, because now there is no AGM. So what is the deadline? Deadline is 6 months. No restriction on related private transactions. And if OPC have more than one director, then you can hold only, you need hold only one board meeting in each calendar year, provided there is a minimum gap of 90 days. So private OPCs, there are benefits. You will get a corporate avatar altogether. OPCs have to convert into private companies if the paid up capital goes beyond 50 lakhs, turnover exceeds 2 crores, and you need to ensure that this conversion into private company or public company is done within a period of 6 months. Voluntarily, if they want to do, then they can do any time after 2 years from the incorporation. Is there any incentive for companies to convert into OPC? They can be converted, but then one has to ensure that the number of members, so private company, if they want to become OPC, shares will have to be transferred so that only one person continues as a shareholder. So if you don't have any charitable activities, capital is less than 10 lakhs, turnover less than 2 crores, then private company can convert into OPC by following the procedures which are laid down in the Act. Small companies, another innovation. Various relaxations are given to small companies as well. It means a company other than a public company. So essentially it means a private company. What can qualify a company as a small company? If you have paid a capital of less than 5 crores, 50 lakhs, or a turnover of 2 crores or less, as per your last account, you can classify yourself as a private small company. Small company there is a restriction. You can't be a holding or subsidiary. So if a company is a holding or subsidiary of any other company, then they cannot be categorized as a small company. Also, Section 8 company cannot be classified as a small company, or any entity governed under special act cannot be converted into small company. There are some benefits to small companies as well. Filing of preparation of cash flow statement does not apply. Annual returns can be signed by the company secretary or one director. Board meeting, which is required to be held, can be held, in each half year. So the provision which is similar to OPC will be there even for a small company as well. Merger of small companies are made very lucrative. Companies have to follow minimum procedures. So if there are clients, companies in the group which are meeting with the requirement of paid-up capital less than 50 lakhs or turnover less than 2 crores, and if you want to merge that company, you don't have to go to High Court or a national company law tribunal. You can do that with taking the approval of a ROC and official liquidator, and members, 9/10 of them approving it. So the process timeline will be completely faster and will be quick for merger of small companies. Section 8 company, this is the erstwhile Section 25 company under the 1956 Act. Charitable company or a non-profit company, that's what was the nomenclature used earlier. Those activities can continue to be carried out by a Section 8 company. In addition to that, they have brought within its fold environment protection, education, research, social welfare, or sports. So if any company wants to carry out this, promote these activities, they can use resort to Section 8 for formation. The license will be given by the company law authority. You need to have that two-step approval. If you contravene any provisions or when the affairs are conducted in a fraudulent manner, then the company law judicials will have power to revoke your license. What are the restrictions placed by the law? There can no alteration in articles is possible unless you take the approvals. Prohibition on payment of dividends, which was a very condition of a Section 25 company. Similarly, Section 8 company also cannot distribute any dividend to its members. What if they want to merge with any other company? There was always a question under the old law. In 2010 or 11, government had issued one circular saying that they would allow a merger or conversion of a Section 25 company into other company. But that circular never got notified because it was just a draft one. Now new law has a specific provision that if you want to amalgamate with any other company, then that other company should be only a Section 8 company having similar objects what you are having. Section 8 conversion into normal company. Last, under the old regime, there was a draft circular which never got acted upon. New law now has the specific provisions. If a Section 25 company earlier, now which is Section 8, if they want to convert into a normal company with paid-up share capital, with limited liability, wants to distribute dividend, all of them can be done. They need certain step-by-step approvals. First and foremost is approval of shareholders in the special by special resolution is what is needed. Adequate disclosures in the notice needs to be made. Convert your memorandum articles so that it is in line with the normal company. Whatever benefits, exemptions you brought from government or local body, everything has to be surrendered upfront. You have to go surrender that, then only you can be converted to normal company. If those Section 25 companies earlier had got some privileges in terms of relaxation in stamp duty or paying the price for a particular land at a market price, they could have just paid a very small fraction. If you have got any such benefit, you have to go and pay back to that appropriate authority, compensate them back, because now you are no more Section 8 company. Only then you can be converted into a normal company. There are some requirements for release of advertisement, etc., but they are all procedural in nature, and it can be converted easily. So conversion now into a normal company is not that difficult, and the conversion should be very straightforward, possible. So having heard that there are so many provisions under the Companies Act which are made applicable to private companies, public companies, is there any incentive to continue as a private company? Because under the new law, the company has saddled with a lot of compliances. Though it does not require any government approval, you don't have to knock doors of ROC or RD, but internal management, record keeping, minutes and various things will become a time-consuming exercise. So is there any reason to continue as a private company, or we can look out for alternatives? So that's where LLP, which was formed, the Act was enacted in 2008. It has not taken off that well what was expected. Presently also few thousands of companies are registered, as a number could have gone into lakhs or so. But now, because of the new law, considering the compliances, I think it becomes all the more reason to look into the aspect as to whether I should consider as a private company or continue as a public company. So of course the first and most important thing which will hit us is what is the tax impact. Slide 34 talks of tax impact. If there is no tax consequence, then there is an incentive to convert into a LLP. Otherwise then not at the cost of paying the taxes I will convert. So the conditions are laid down by the Income Tax Act, and these conditions are all the assets and liabilities of a company before conversion becomes the assets and liabilities of LLP, so which is not a challenge. All shareholders who are holding shares immediately before conversion becomes a partner of the LLP, and the capital contribution and profit sharing ratio in the LLP in the same proportion in which the shareholding pattern is there. So if I was a shareholder, I have to get converted into a partnership, and my profit sharing ratio will be same as a capital contribution, and in no different terms. Shareholders of the company do not receive any special consideration or benefit on conversion, which is a fair point. Aggregate of profit sharing ratio of shareholders of the company in the LLP shall not be less than 50% at a time, at any time during 5 years. You can't convert and sell off your stake, otherwise it will become a taxable event as far as the conversion is concerned. So minimum 50% has to continue for a period of 5 years. Total sales, turnover or gross receipts of the business of the company in last 3 years does not exceed 60 lakhs. This is a little disappointing factor. Hardly you will find anybody reasonably running companies and sizes to have a turnover of less than 60 lakhs. Maybe government possibly can make an amendment to that to make the conversion more lucrative. And no amount is paid directly or indirectly to partner out of the balance in the accumulated profit sharing in the accounts of the company for a period of 3 years after conversion. So if you comply with these conditions and you want to come out of all these procedural requirements, I think then the conversion into LLP is the best option. How to convert? You have to ensure that you are eligible for conversion. Eligibility for conversion is laid down in the LLP Act itself. There should be no security interest in the company's assets subsisting at the time of conversion into LLP, and all shareholders should become shareholders of LLP, partners of LLP. These are the two bare tests to be complied. If you comply that, and if tax provisions conditions can be ensured, then conversion into LLP would be to the advantage of the entities. So ensure that you are eligible for conversion. If yes, then all you need to take the consent of shareholders for conversion into LLP, obtain TSC, which you already have in the company. Meeting directors would have at that time have the resolution of the proposed partners or consent of the partners, make an application to ROC for conversion for the reservation of name as an LLP, take approval for the name availability. Then what you need to do is have a long list of documents like LLP agreement, incorporation document drafted out, clearly laying down the relationship between the LLP and the partners. So what you have MOA, there will be altogether like a partnership form for an LLP. File the documents on the ROC, and then the conversion will be very much possible. Number of forms required to be filed. These are just a procedure, not bigger challenge. Conversion can be attained easily in a period of 1.5 months to 2 months. What will you achieve by doing that? Various advantages are there. The privileges and exemptions which were lost being a private company under the new law, now you don't have to bother. No restrictions on companies to give loan to directors. LLP does not have such kind of restrictions. Exemptions which was removed for accepting deposit from partners or from members. Now LLP can take freely from the partners. Maximum number of shares, maximum number of shareholders the private company can have, which is 200. There is no such upper cap at all under the LLP. Related party transaction, Equity Act doesn't know what is that. Added advantage, protection against the personal liability unless there is a wrongful act or omission, which is a fair point. So the liability of the partners will be limited. So despite conversion, you will have the benefit of a limited liability which you continue to enjoy in a company, even in LLP. Income tax benefit, no surcharge applies. 3% I save on conversion into LLP. So that's a profit saved, is a profit earned. No restriction of carry forward losses in case of change in beneficial ownership, unless the 5-year condition is complied for 50%. No dividend distribution tax is there right now for LLP. But what has happened is over a period of years, present when the budget is announcements are made, they keep on plugging the loopholes. So right now, dividend distribution tax is not applicable to LLP. Let's see what Arun Jaitley has in mind in the next month's budget. If it brings, then to some extent there will be dilution of the benefits. And conversion is completely tax exempt if you compare with those conditions. Stamp duty on conversion, in the Act it is mentioned that it is a vesting of property. Okay, so when there is a change in character from a company to a LLP, since this has happened through a legal process and specific vesting has happened because of the provision of the Act, there should not be any implication of stamp duty under the on conversion.
It is transfer and vesting, not only
Transfer and vesting, sir. That's it.
So
This has been held in the High Court judgments as well.
no, only vesting there are judgments. Because of transfer and vesting there is an issue. In the beginning the central government said we will give direction to the state government to make the relaxation.
But even if you currently, if you see under the Bombay and Maharashtra standard, the stamp duty on LLP is not mentioned, but you can follow what is there for a partnership. If you want to form a LLP, stamp duty is minimum, then 5,000 is the maximum you will pay. If the capital exceeds higher limits, no other upper cap, no upside as far as stamp duty is concerned. Conversion, though it mentions that there is a kind of a grey issue, but I think people are taking a stand and legal opinions that it's a vesting which is happening, so that there should be no requirement of a heavy stamp duty payment. That is minimum. That maximum it is 5,000. The filings that LLP is required to do under the LLP Act, they are quite minimum. There are no multiple filing should be done. Penalties are there. Every act, every form of entity will have a penalty if you don't comply. But then those penalties are not that severe or heavy because the complexity of the law of LLP is not as complicated as what the Companies Act is. So less of filing, less of a government requirements, compliances, interventions, approvals you need. That leads us to a situation and a conclusion that if you are a private company, if you are able to comply with those income tax exemption and possibly in the budget if there are more relaxations given and dividend distribution tax is again not touched, the conversion into LLP could be a better alternative. Yes.
This refers to 60 lakh is income chargeable under the head business or
Gross income.
no, gross income but chargeable under the head house property?
So it just says that total sales turnover or gross receipt.
Correct. So if the company owns
Everything.
property income is taxable under the head house property and it exceeds more than 60 lakh, these conditions satisfied or?
In my view, it is satisfied, but I am not a tax expert on that. But 60 lakh is the gross receipt which is kept. So if I receive as house property income as well as sale
Or I
income,
receive as dividend income, which is
dividend income. Dividend income is exempt, yeah. So that to that extent, yeah.
Is it our?
The one which is not an income, possibly.
Income tax and company law.
This is a
This is the income tax
This is the
condition.
income tax section.
These conditions
This is
are under
condition
income tax
section
act.
47.
Board does not consider transfer.
Secondly, there is a shareholders should get profit sharing ratio.
Right.
You preference shareholders should get or only equity.
That is again not addressed. But what will happen is the moment you convert into LLP, those preference shareholder can be given ownership either in the form of a current account as a stake in the LLP or put a mechanism so that on conversion they are treated as a loan. So that is something which is not touched. But since they are the members and shareholders, the requirement is that they will have a ownership in the company. So I think all we have to do is have a proportionate stake, equity preference, take what your
No,
stake
it says
applies.
that the profit sharing ratio is in the same proportion as shareholding.
Correct.
So equity and preference. Suppose equity is 1 lakh and preference is 1 crore. How do I give the profit?
So the
Converted.
profit sharing ratio is as such for the purpose of voting. So those shareholders who are voting, which is equity shareholders, ideally should get the and become the partner in the LLP. Because of this condition, as I mentioned, this income tax provision, maybe I will have to go deeper into check that. But even the preference shareholders might get a voting right in the conversion.
So what is the answer for house property above 60 lakh? Is it covered or not?
It will get house property will get covered.
But it's entirely a business income. It's not my business income. Gross receipts in the business of the company. When my rent
So if the business of the company is to let out and then it will become business.
So same logic will apply for dividend also. Then for dividend you might have a different logic.
Possible.
If you take this view, then for dividend also you have to take this
No,
view.
because as such, we are talking of our top line in terms of income from business.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you just focus on the few exemption which is being granted to private company in this 2013? For example, if I'm having a public company, I will convert it to a private company. So what are the exceptions?
See, various prescribed class of companies which are laid down, woman director, independent director. Okay, these are not applicable to private companies. So there are at least 15 to 20 cases of prescribed class of companies which are laid down to the rules. So if you get converted from public into private company, then requirement are having audit committee, nomination remuneration committee, woman director, all those will not be applicable at all. So that way there will be incentive to even convert from a public to a private company.
Section 185 said prohibits loans to directors.
Right.
186 permits loans to other than directors, subject to either a board resolution or a special resolution.
Right.
Right? 185 begins with the word save as otherwise.
Save as
provided. What is the significance of that?
Yes, that's right. I think people have made representations to the government saying that because of section 185 opening remark, it says that save as otherwise provided. If a company wants to give loan to a director and charge a minimum interest or a rate down, why it cannot be allowed? But then what will happen is, if you want to charge an interest at bank rate, then the very purpose of section 185 will get defeated. So save as otherwise, as some, possibly the MCA need to come out with a situation like this, that which cases I can caveat from 185 and take shelter under 186. So the possible case we should follow is loan between holding company and subsidiary, which as such is exempted under 185, but 186 based on other exemptions also. So if I get benefit of that, if you are giving to a pure director, it is banned completely. You can't take shelter of 186. So 185 completely, then the whole purpose of 185 will become irrelevant.
But I understand that there are legal opinions that you can do it. I mean, and companies have taken on this.
Yeah, there are opinions floating around in the market, and as I mentioned, people have made representations. I think CII also has kind of laid down a long list of recommendations to ministry, running over some 50 to 60 pages, saying that these are the relaxation which needs to be made, or these are the lacunas under the new act. Because Companies Act 2013, it took long time to get notified, but it was passed in a very hurried manner. So there are a lot of inherent limitations and lacunas in the Act itself. 185, 186 is one such situation. Holding subsidiary relationship of an MNC who has a company in India is another one. Related party transaction, and a related party cannot vote is another instance. There are a lot of situations which is making the applicability of the provisions kind of non-impossible. But law is evolving, government is learning from that. Based on the representation made, I think they will come out with clarifications so that the law does not look very tough in terms of implementation. Yes.
When talking about converting of existing companies into OPC, one of the conditions given was turnover less than
Right.
23
Yeah.
So this 2 crores is like during the lifetime, previous year,
As per the last financial year.
Both are to be applied or it is a board, where the same capital 5 crore and turnover either one or
It is all. They have mentioned all. So if I have a capital of 1 lakh but turnover 10 crores or whatever more than 2 crores, if I am not a holding or subsidiary, it is possible to convert into a small amount. This is another area where kind of questions are raised to ministry saying that whether it should be an end or off. If it is end, then this will be a not a lucrative anymore. But right now the law ends it's an off, so not an end. So if you have a capital of just 1 lakh, the risk of your turnover, possibly you convert into a small amount.
Yes, my question is the differential rights.
Yes.
Now new companies have set a clause consistent track record of distributable profits.
Correct.
While I understand the earlier act, they used to have distributed profits under section 205.
That's right.
So where even I can use accumulated profit. So suppose in the last 2 years I have a loss situation. Why I don't have accumulated profit? If I see the overall position of my company. So how do I read this?
You need to have 3 years profit in the last 3 years.
We are talking about current year profit.
Current year?
We are not talking about distributable profit.
No, so all it says is consistent track record of distributable profit. So whether I declare dividend or not is not relevant. The moment I have a PAT situation, profit after tax, that qualifies me